In a dramatic escalation of tensions between Burkina Faso and Western powers, the country's military forces, in coordination with joint units from the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, have arrested 11 individuals purportedly operating as U.S. intelligence operatives. The detainees are accused of spying on Burkina Faso's military operations as part of a clandestine effort to orchestrate a coup d'état aimed at ousting President Captain Ibrahim Traore. This operation, dubbed Operation Sentinel by Burkinabe authorities, marks one of the most significant counter-espionage actions in the Sahel region since the formation of the AES in 2023. Sources within the Burkinabe Ministry of Defense, speaking on condition of anonymity due to the sensitivity of the ongoing investigation, revealed that the arrests took place during a pre-dawn raid on January 20th in a remote compound near the northern border with Mali. The compound, disguised as a humanitarian aid outpost, was allegedly being used as a hub for surveillance activities. The operation involved elite units from Burkina Faso Special Forces, bolstered by reconnaissance teams from Mali and Niger under the AES banner, a confederation established by the three nations to counter jihadist threats and foreign interference following their respective military takeovers. The detainees, described as highly trained operatives with military backgrounds, include individuals with alleged ties to U.S. Special Operations Forces. Preliminary interrogations suggest they were embedded in the region under various covers, including private security contractors for mining companies and NGO consultants. Burkinabe officials claim the group was gathering real-time intelligence on troop movements, supply lines, and internal security protocols within the Faso Armed Forces, FAN. This data, according to a statement released by Security Minister Mahamadou Sanaa, was intended to facilitate a targeted destabilization campaign, including the potential assassination or forced removal of President Traore. President Traore, who seized power in a September 2022 coup amid widespread frustration with the previous government's handling of Islamist insurgencies, has positioned himself as a staunch Pan-Africanist leader. His administration has pivoted away from traditional Western alliances, expelling French troops in 2023 and forging closer ties with Russia, including military cooperation through the Wagner Group, now Africa Corps, and economic deals for uranium and gold extraction. Critics in Washington have accused Traore of authoritarianism, while supporters hail him as a defender against neocolonialism. The alleged U.S. involvement, if proven, could represent a direct response to Burkina Faso's realignment, echoing historical U.S. interventions in Africa during the Cold War era. Delving into the operational details, the AES Joint Force played a pivotal role. Formed in the wake of coups in Mali, 2020 to 2021, Burkina Faso, 2022, and Niger, 2023, the alliance has evolved from a mutual defense pact into a coordinated intelligence sharing network. Intelligence reports indicate that Malian drone surveillance first flagged suspicious activities at the compound in late December 2025, with unusual encrypted communications traced to servers in the United States. Nigerian ground teams provided logistical support, including border patrols to prevent escape routes. The raid itself involved over 50 personnel, utilizing night vision equipment and Russian-supplied Kalashnikov variants, culminating in a swift takedown without casualties. Among the evidence seized were encrypted laptops, satellite phones, drone components, and documents outlining contingency plans for a coup. One purported memo, leaked to local media outlets, references Phase 0, neutralized command structure, which allegedly targeted Traore's inner circle, including key military advisors. Analysts speculate that the plot may have drawn inspiration from past failed coups in the region, such as the 2023 attempt in Niger or earlier unrest in Burkina Faso itself. The involvement of U.S. personnel raises questions about the extent of CIA or Pentagon oversight, especially given recent U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, statements expressing concern over Russian influence in the Sahel. The arrests come amid a broader pattern of espionage allegations in Burkina Faso. In October 2025, the junta detained 8 workers from the Dutch-based International NGO Safety Organization, INSO, accusing them of spying for European powers, a claim the NGO vehemently denied. Similarly, in December 2024, 4 French nationals were released after over a year in detention on similar charges, following Moroccan mediation. These incidents have fueled paranoia within Traore's regime, leading to increased scrutiny of foreign entities. Human rights groups, including Amnesty International, have warned that such crackdowns could stifle legitimate humanitarian efforts in a country where over 2 million people are displaced due to ongoing conflicts with groups like JNIM, Jamaat Nasr al-Islam wal Muslimin. Geopolitically, this development could strain U.S.-Burkina Faso relations further. The U.S. Embassy in Ouagadougou has not yet responded to requests for comment, but diplomatic sources suggest Washington may dismiss the allegations as baseless propaganda designed to rally domestic support for Traore ahead of delayed elections promised for 2027. Meanwhile, Russian state media has amplified the story, portraying it as evidence of Western aggression against sovereign African states. The AES partners have issued a joint communiqué praising the operation as a victory for African unity, hinting at potential expansions of their alliance to include other junta-led nations like Guinea or Chad. As investigations continue, questions linger about the detainees' exact affiliations. Were they rogue actors, or part of a sanctioned U.S. operation? How deep does the intelligence network run, and what role did local collaborators play? Burkinabe authorities have promised a public trial, but with the nation's judiciary under military influence, transparency remains uncertain. International observers are calling for independent verification, while the streets of Ouagadougou buzz with a mix of nationalist fervor and quiet apprehension. This story is developing, with more details expected as interrogations progress and diplomatic fallout unfolds. Hours after the announcement of the arrests, President Captain Ibrahim Traore appeared before an assembled battalion of the Faso Armed Forces, FAN, at the presidential palace grounds, delivering a fiery address that blended praise, strategic counsel, and a call to arms against perceived external threats. Flanked by high-ranking officers from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, representing the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, Traore's speech underscored the operation's success as a testament to the region's burgeoning military intelligence and unity. The event, broadcast live on state television and shared across social media platforms, drew cheers from the troops and ignited discussions among analysts about the deepening resolve of Sahelian states against foreign meddling. Dressed in his signature military fatigues, Traore took to a makeshift podium under the glaring afternoon sun, with AES flags fluttering in the background alongside Burkina Faso's national banner. The gathering included elite special forces units involved in the raid, many of whom had just returned from the northern operation. Sources close to the presidency indicate that the address was impromptu, prompted by the need to boost morale and reinforce loyalty amid whispers of internal dissent. Traore, known for his charismatic oratory style, often invoking historical figures like Thomas Sankara and drawing on biblical or proverbial wisdom, began by lauding the soldiers' precision and bravery. "My brave warriors of the Faso Armed Forces, today you have etched your names in the annals of African history," Traore proclaimed, his voice echoing through loudspeakers to the ranks of uniformed personnel standing at attention. He detailed how the arrests were not mere luck but the fruit of meticulous intelligence work, emphasizing that this feat could only be accomplished by an intelligent army, one that sees beyond the horizon, anticipates the enemy's shadow, and strikes with the speed of a desert storm. Delving into the specifics, Traore recounted the months of surveillance that preceded the raid. Covert monitoring of suspicious movements, decryption of intercepted signals by AES-shared cyber units, and cross-border intelligence fusion that turned fragmented clues into actionable insights. He credited the FAN's revamped training programs, bolstered by Russian advisors since 2023, for honing these skills, transforming what was once a reactive force into a proactive guardian of sovereignty. Traore then pivoted to the role of the AES, hailing the alliance as the backbone of the operation's success. "The AES has done it. Our brothers from Mali and Niger stood shoulder to shoulder with us, sharing eyes in the sky and boots on the ground. This is not just Burkina Faso's victory. It is the triumph of a united Sahel, free from the chains of imperial puppeteers." Analysts note that this rhetoric aligns with Traore's broader vision for the AES, which has expanded from a security pact into an economic and political bloc. Formed in September 2023 after the three nations withdrew from ECOWAS amid sanctions over their coups, the AES has invested heavily in joint military exercises, intelligence academies, and even a proposed common currency. In his speech, Traore elaborated on how Malian drone operators provided aerial reconnaissance, while Nigerian signals intelligence experts decoded US-linked transmissions. Details that, if verified, highlight the alliance's growing sophistication in asymmetric warfare against better-resourced adversaries. Building on this acclaim, Traore shifted to a more admonitory tone, urging the army to embody wisdom and unyielding resolve. Drawing from the biblical metaphor, he exhorted, "Be wise as serpents, my comrades, cunning in your vigilance, silent in your approach, and venomous in your defense of our land." The serpent does not announce its strike. It observes, it waits, it protects its nest from intruders. He expounded on this, warning of hidden vipers within and without, alluding to potential local collaborators with foreign powers and the ever-present threat of infiltration. Traore delved into historical parallels, referencing the 1987 coup against Sankara as a cautionary tale of internal betrayal, and urged the troops to cultivate serpent-like intelligence through ongoing education in counter-espionage, cyber defense, and psychological operations. "Resolute you must be," he continued, "like the baobab tree that withstands the harshest winds. No compromise, no retreat. Our enemies plot in the dark, but we shall illuminate their schemes with the light of African determination." The speech, lasting over 30 minutes, included anecdotes from the raid. A soldier who spotted an anomaly in satellite imagery, a team that endured days in arid hideouts without detection, and the seamless coordination that prevented any escape. Traore's delivery was interspersed with calls for applause, turning the address into a rally-like event where troops chanted, "Vive le Faso! Vive l'Aïs!" Observers from international think tanks, such as the International Crisis Group, suggest this moment could solidify Traore's cult of personality, much like his idol Sankara, while also signaling to Western powers that the Sahel's militaries are no longer pushovers. Domestically, it addresses simmering tensions within the FAN, where junior officers have occasionally grumbled about delayed salaries and resource shortages amid the fight against insurgents. As the address concluded with a salute and the national anthem, questions arose about its broader implications. How will this bolster AES integration, perhaps accelerating plans for a joint command center? What countermeasures might the US or its allies deploy in response? And internally, could this emphasis on serpent wisdom lead to purges or heightened paranoia within the ranks? The atmosphere in Ouagadougou remains charged, with state media replaying excerpts and citizens gathering in public squares to discuss the unfolding drama. In the wake of the high-profile arrests of 11 alleged US operatives, Burkina Faso's military has intensified operations across the vast Sahel expanse, deploying specialized units to scour remote outposts, border zones, and insurgent-prone territories for further evidence of espionage and potential accomplices. This escalation, codenamed Operation Viper's Coil, reflects a strategic pivot from defensive postures to aggressive pursuit, as intelligence gleaned from the initial detainees unveils a web of intrigue suggesting that lax security could precipitate a full-scale coup attempt against President Ibrahim Traore. Joint AES forces are spearheading the push, transforming the arid landscapes of northern Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger into a theater of heightened vigilance, where every nomadic camp and satellite signal could hold the key to unraveling a larger conspiracy. The operation launched at first light on January 22nd, mere hours after Traore's address to the troops, with convoys of armored vehicles and helicopter-supported patrols fanning out from bases in Dori and Gorom Gorom. Elite reconnaissance teams from the Faso Armed Forces, FAN, augmented by Malian desert warfare specialists and Nigerian border guards, are navigating the unforgiving terrain, characterized by endless dunes, rocky escarpments, and sparse acacia groves, that has long served as a haven for jihadists, smugglers, and now, allegedly, foreign agents. Military sources describe the mission as a deep dive into the shadows, involving ground sweeps, aerial drone surveillance, and signals intelligence intercepts to trace leads from the captured spies' communications. One key clue emerging from interrogations: encrypted messages referencing secondary nodes in the Sahel, purportedly safe houses or relay points for relaying data on Burkinabe military vulnerabilities back to handlers overseas. Delving into the tactical intricacies, the forces are employing a multi-layered approach honed through years of counterinsurgency experience. FAN units, trained in Russian-led asymmetric tactics since 2023, are using thermal imaging and ground-penetrating radar to detect hidden caches, already uncovering a buried stash of high-tech gadgets near the Malian border, including GPS trackers and portable encryption devices bearing serial numbers linked to U.S. defense contractors. AES coordination is critical here. Malian forces, drawing from their expertise in the Adrar de Ifoghas mountains, are leading incursions into cross-border areas where jihadist groups like JNIM might inadvertently shield spy networks through porous alliances or shared smuggling routes. Nigerian contingents, meanwhile, are monitoring the eastern flanks, intercepting radio chatter that hints at panicked evacuations by unidentified personnel. A notable find includes a discarded laptop fragment analyzed on-site, revealing partial maps of fan supply routes and notations on high-value targets within Traore's command structure, such as logistics depots in Ouagadougou and training camps in Bobo Dioulasso. As these probes deepen, revelations from the detainees are painting a stark picture of vulnerability. Interrogation transcripts, partially declassified by the Ministry of Security, indicate that the alleged U.S. spies were part of a broader Operation Mirage, a hypothetical codename inferred from fragmented confessions, designed to exploit gaps in Burkina Faso's security apparatus. These gaps include underfunded border patrols, outdated communication systems vulnerable to jamming, and internal divisions within the military exacerbated by economic hardships. One detainee, reportedly a former Green Beret with experience in African operations, allegedly confessed to mapping soft spots where a small, well-armed force could infiltrate and incite mutiny among disaffected troops. Analysts within the AES intelligence sharing hub suggest this points to a classic coup blueprint. Sow discord through targeted disinformation, sabotage key infrastructure like power grids or fuel depots, and then strike during a moment of chaos, such as an uptick in jihadist attacks that could be amplified or staged. The push into the Sahel is not without risks, amplifying the narrative that untightened security could invite disaster. Military planners are emphasizing the need for serpent-like wisdom, as per Traore's directive, implementing rolling checkpoints, biometric verification for all personnel, and AI-assisted anomaly detection in troop movements. Technologies partially sourced from Chinese partnerships established in 2024. Yet, the operation has already encountered hurdles. Ambushes by suspected Islamist militants in the Liptako-Gourma region, where the tri-border area of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger converges, have resulted in minor skirmishes, raising fears that spies might be leveraging terrorist networks for cover. Local herders and villagers, caught in the crossfire, report increased military presence disrupting trade routes, while human rights monitors like Human Rights Watch express concerns over potential arbitrary detentions in the name of counter-espionage. Further afield, the hunt is extending into urban peripheries and economic hubs, where spies might blend into expatriate communities. In Kaya and Fadan Gourma, fan teams are raiding suspected front companies, mining consultancies and aid NGOs, with ties to Western firms, uncovering documents that suggest financial trails leading to offshore accounts possibly funding local agitators. This urban-rural synergy underscores the coup threat. If security lapses persist, such as inadequate vetting of foreign contractors or unmonitored drone airspace, a coordinated assault could materialize swiftly. Intelligence briefs circulating among AES leaders warn of escalation triggers, including upcoming regional summits or resource negotiations, where Traore's anti-Western stance might provoke a desperate response from implicated powers. As soldiers press onward, sifting through sand-swept clues and interrogating captured informants, the operation's scope continues to expand, hinting at a conspiracy that may involve more players than initially suspected. Whispers of additional arrests loom, perhaps mid-level facilitators or even high-profile figures, while the international community watches warily, pondering the ripple effects on Sahel stability.